We've been in Valencia for 5 days and we thought we'd make a head talking video because the little clips and the photos don't really express how nice Valencia is, how special Valencia is, the really special things about Valencia. But the main thing about Valencia is the people. We've been really bowled over by how helpful they are. They are exceptionally helpful people, beyond any kind of hope that you could have for the people in a new city. They go out of their way to help you, and they offer to help you even when you haven't asked. It's almost like they're looking for ways to help you. So we're already keeping a list of writing down all the extraordinary things that people have done for us, and we'll probably make a video talking about all of those things once we leave Valencia. They're not overly friendly, but I think that's it's a respectful thing. They're very respectful people. They're very calm and very well mannered. It's a very high functioning society. You don't see many kind of degenerates walking around. Everybody's very smart. There doesn't seem to be much rebelliousness in the city. Everybody seems to be very uniform. Nobody seems to be trying to stand out, which is really nice to see. We're having to try to be smart too, and not stand out too much. It's a little bit difficult in certain situations, like when we're trying to get onto the escalators, because Lottie's never used once used an escalator before, and she's terrified of them. So of course that caused a scene, and the entire platform of the tube station was staring at us, dumbstruck. So we're trying to control ourselves and fit in, blend in better. But things like our clothes make us stand out. We do get stared at. Wearing flip-flops is obviously something quizzical for people, because nobody wears flip-flops. I wear flip-flops because they're so comfortable. I'm trying to wear my sandals now, so that I look a little bit smarter. But flowery dresses you just don't see. I suppose I did stand out even in Ibiza, but in Ibiza you do see people in colourful clothing, flowery dresses, but you don't see that here. Never. We went into a shoe shop, and we thought it was a men's shoe shop, because all of the shoes were flat and dark, and they looked like men's shoes. That's such a stark contrast to shoe shops in Ibiza, where you struggle to find flat shoes, comfortable shoes. They're all skyscraper heels or really impractical sandals. So the women here, you don't see them. You very rarely see them teetering about in high-heeled shoes. So that's refreshing. They just walk around and they're comfortable, but they still look very feminine, because nearly all of them have got very long hair, and they're very feminine. There's no feminism in Valencia that I've noticed. And they don't wear a lot of makeup, but they still look very beautiful. You don't see false nails and inflated lips. You see that a lot in Ibiza. Plastic faces, you don't see that here. It's very natural, so it's really nice to see. Oh, and another thing we've noticed is people, men and women, couples in love. And you never saw that in Ibiza, did you? Never ever saw it. The island of love is not really the island of love. Ibiza calls itself the island of love, but you never see anybody in love. You never see people walking down the streets holding hands, do you? Or kissing. You saw a couple. Where was it? Was it in the town? in the centre of Valencia, and you said, "Mummy, look, they're kissing," because she'd never seen it before. She's never seen me do it. Well, once I think, a long time ago, very, very briefly. So you'd never actually seen a couple in love. You'd never seen it in real life, had you? So she's seen it a few times here now. There's a couple at the park, lying down and canoodling, and it's really nice for her to see that. And it's normal in most cities. That's what happens, but you don't see it in Ibiza. You hardly ever even see people holding hands. So that's been really nice. But the driving is absolutely insane. It's really incongruous to the character of the people. It's like being, if you're next to a road, it's like being at the speedway. They've got lots of traffic lights, so they stop at the traffic lights, and there might be about 4 lanes that have stopped at the traffic lights, and they're all waiting to go, and they seem to set off before it turns to green. And then there's the race to the next set of traffic lights, so it's massive acceleration. So the roads are just terrible, but the city centre, the city in general, is fantastic. It's very flat. Everywhere seems to be flat. I've not seen a hill yet, and it's massive. It really is like London.
Oh, and there are lots of bicycles as well.
Yeah, the bicycle lanes. They've got bicycle lanes everywhere. They're the best bicycle lanes I've ever seen.
Oh, and you can buy
that was a car going past.
bicycles.
You can hire them. Yeah, you get a card, and then you can just use a bike, go somewhere, drop it off, pick up another bike, that kind of thing. But the bicycle lanes are amazing. They're like little motorways running all around the city,
and
they've even got traffic lights. Yeah. And they're two-lane bicycle lanes, and they've got road markings and pedestrian crossings going over the bicycle lanes. They're really, really good, all over the place, aren't they? It's a fantastic city for cycling. It's so flat, and they've really, really planned it well. What else can you think about Valencia?
And I went on the metro.
You went on the metro, yeah. First time she'd been on anything that was like a proper train, so that was really exciting, wasn't it? We went on the wrong metro at one point, but the lady told us, and so we got off and went the right way, didn't we? What else? Oh, we went to the park. They've got a massive park.
It took about 3 hours.
We were walking for 3 hours. Yeah, there's loads of walking. We walk and walk and walk and walk. I've never walked so much in my life. I'm really enjoying it because it's all flat, and the pavements are beautiful, aren't they? Beautiful pavements.
Like ham foods.
Yeah, they look like salami ham. No, not salami ham.
All of them.
What is it? What's the type of ham it looks like?
Serrano.
Serrano ham. The pavements look like Serrano ham in some places, but they're beautifully clean, shiny, from being used so much, walked on for 100 years or so. Well, maybe not 100 years, but walked on a lot. They've not tarmacked them over. And we did see some people doing some tarmacking. I really hope that they don't do that in Valencia. I hope they don't dig up all of these beautiful tiles and replace them with tarmac pavements, because that would be such a shame. They're so beautiful. They really are worth keeping, but they're in amazing condition as well. So it's lovely to walk around because the floor is just beautiful to walk on, and you're not going to trip up, you're not going to slip, because it's been dry the whole time we've been here. Sorry about that, the camera cut out, talking too much. So the park runs down the south of the city, and where they used to have the river, but the river was diverted in the 50s because of a flood. So now it's just a green space with lots of fountains and ponds, and there's a bird aviary with tropical birds of paradise. What else is there?
Oh, there was a musical fountain.
A musical fountain. They played music out of had speakers all the way around the fountain, and the fountain performed to the music. That was really nice.
And we had an ice cream.
We had an ice cream, yeah. And did we talk about the oh, we've already talked about seeing couples in love in the park, yeah. So the park's lovely, and again it has little cycle paths all around it as well.
And it had a little tunnel.
A tunnel.
Oh, remember we went to the playground and we went on that donkey kind of thingy.
Yeah, yeah. So the park's lovely. What else about Valencia do we like? Oh, I love the fact that there's so many independent shops. Amazing shops. It's like going back in time.
And there was an old sweetie shop.
Lots of old sweetie shops, specialist shops. I've obviously been running for tens of years, 100 years or something, and loads of them. And the old market, really, really old-fashioned. It's like going back in time in England. It's like being in the 70s in England. It's still got all of the things that England had in the 70s. All of the independent shops, all of the buildings, lots and lots of lovely old buildings, and very, very tall apartment buildings, but very old, hundreds of them, not just a few that are really pretty buildings with balconies, but hundreds of them. Like in Ibiza there are a few roads, several roads that are really pretty, but in Valencia there are hundreds. It's just everywhere, it's so common. So yeah, the independent shops are a real bonus, and lots of little architectural details all over the place, like the grates for the water pipes or whatever, the underground system. All of the grates are the original grates, so they're all beautifully ornate. And the water fountains that you can drinking water fountains are original. They've not changed them. They seem to have kept all of their architectural antiques, which gives the city a lot of character. The lampposts are all the original. They look original. So I really hope that they don't go ripping them all out, because what I've noticed in Spain is that they tend to copy what we've done in England. They think that England, whatever England did, is the way to go. It's such a shame, because I see it making the same mistakes that England made, and I wish the Spain realised that it doesn't. England's made a lot of mistakes, ripping out all of its architectural antiques and replacing old with new, and tarmacking over everything, and destroying its independent retail base. We're not a nation of shopkeepers anymore in England, because it's all been destroyed, hasn't it? I wish Spain didn't feel it had to copy England, and just stay the way it is, and not destroy itself. And the people seem old-fashioned as well. It really is like going back in time in England. The people act and look like they did in the 70s. Not the fashion, just the way that they hold themselves, the way they talk, and what they do. we were in Valencia and we saw a choir, and that's the kind of thing that you'd really struggle to come across in England nowadays. So yeah, it's just lovely, and old men hanging around in little groups with the walking sticks, but they look really smart, and they speak to us. They really enjoy speaking to us, starting conversations with us. Yeah, so it's just kind of oldie worldy. It's really nice to experience. One thing that I didn't really like was when we went out in the evening on, was it Friday night? We got dressed up. We went out on Friday night, hoping that we would see some dancing. But we couldn't find anything, could we? Everybody said we couldn't even find bars that played music. I was hoping that we'd find some bars where there were some musicians playing, but there was nothing like that. Maybe there are. We'll look on the internet and do some research to try and find out. But everybody was saying, oh no, the bars don't play music, and everybody's chatting all the time. All outside in the tables, real cafe society, chatting non-stop, which is fantastic. But if you're new to a city and you don't know anybody and you're wanting to chat to people, chat to the locals and get to know them, it's impossible. If everybody's just chatting, it's impossible to mingle with them. So we were hoping to find some kind of music bar where we could go in and mingle with people and talk to people, but we couldn't find anything like that. But we'll have another look and let you know if we find anything. So now we've got we've decided that the inflatable mattresses that we use, we did start off with one double, but that was a nightmare. It was like being on a boat, because every time she moved, I moved, and couldn't do that. It was terrible. So we switched to 2 single mattresses, and we've got big heavy cushions in between us. Our cushions are full of clothing. We've got 2 cushions in between us, and because Lottie, when she sleeps, she flings her arms and her legs about, so that stops that. I don't get smacked in the face anymore. And she tends to pull the duvet off me at night, so the heavy duvets weigh the duvet down a bit. That helps, although I do usually wake up in the night with no duvet. I don't know how.
Heavy duvets weigh the duvet?
Sorry, the heavy cushions weigh the duvet down. So it's not so easy for you to yank the duvet off me. But we're not happy with the inflatable mattresses because
when you sit
one
here,
of us has to go to the
right
front.
off.
Usually it's you, isn't it? Has to go to the front and hold the socket into the cigarette lighter to pump them up. So if you want to take them down every day and have the full space of the van, if we do, then it means that every single evening when you're tired you have to blow them up. So Lottie has to go to the front and plug it in while I do the connection at this side, and it's a hell of a lot of work. So we've ordered a foam mattress to fit the back. Sorry, the camera keeps switching off. So yes, we're waiting for the mattress to be made. We're waiting for a phone call. That's why we've been in Valencia for 5 days. To wait for the mattress to be made. It's forced me to have a rest. I would have shot off onto the next place after 1 day otherwise, because I'm so used to rushing around, not stopping, and thinking, right, what's next, that I just couldn't relax for the first day. I was already planning our exit. But realising that we needed to get a foam mattress forced us to wait for one to be made, and forced me to have a holiday, or forced both of us to have a holiday. So it's been really nice. We've really enjoyed Valencia. Oh, we went to the market yesterday, Flea Market. They call them rastros. In Ibiza they called it a rastrillo, but here they call them the rastro. And it was full of, it's very strange, nearly all vintage things. But very ordinary vintage things, kind of everyday objects. The kind of mostly 70s things. It's really strange because it's almost like a second-hand market would have been in England in the 70s. The things they were selling, like the toys and dolls, they all look like 70s toys and dolls, and household objects.
This
kitchen equipment, 70s kitchen equipment. So it's really strange going back in time. It really felt like I was going back in time again. Yeah, we bought a 100 peseta note.
And this Barbie doll.
And this Barbie doll.
€4.
That was €4, was it?
Yeah.
No, she was €2, wasn't she? She was €4. We got this for €1. I bought it because I love the old notes, because of the pictures. They have pictures, the old notes from all of the European countries have pictures of people on them. If you have a look at the Euro notes,
and buildings as well.
And buildings, yes, but it's mostly about telling stories about humanity, about people.
Yeah, but look how thick they are.
Yeah, and they're big and beautiful, much nicer, more colourful. But if you look at the Euro notes, you will notice that it's all boring buildings, and they're not even buildings. Mostly, they're not even buildings that actually exist. They're made up. Don't do that, darling. They're made up buildings, invented, just imaginary buildings, so that they don't cause offence to any other country that isn't included. And they're always boring buildings as well. If you have a look, they're really boring buildings. So that's why I like the old notes. Not that I'm going to turn into a massive collector, but I just wanted one. Yeah, and the market, it wasn't the best market, I must admit. Don't do that, John. It was an experience, but it wasn't the best. If you're wanting to find vintage things, like vintage clothing, there's virtually no vintage clothing, hardly any clothing. And it wasn't very good, really, and you couldn't get a bargain, because anything of any value, you know, you had to pay a really high price for. Even things like silver jewellery seemed to be priced higher than what you would pay in a proper shop. So it was a bit disappointing in that way, but it was an experience. And you got your doll, and a photographer spotted Lottie, and she said that she couldn't believe how lovely she was when she was bending over and rifling through a tin of something, weren't you? In her 1980s dress with her hair down. She was really delighted to have come across Lottie with her blonde hair and blue eyes. And she said that she would like her to do some kind of modelling job, probably a voluntary thing. But a nice experience for her, and she'll get some nice photographs from it. So maybe something will happen with that. And today we're going to find a launderette. Oh yeah, the Vanlife. Not talked about Vanlife very much. It's all about Valencia. We are parked where we were when we first arrived, on nice, very leafy lane, lots of trees. So we're not. It's very cool. Although the solar panel doesn't charge up as much as it would do normally, but the light, we've got the light on now, and the lights are still working, even though it's not got much direct sun. But it means that the vans doesn't get hot during the day. We're on a little bit of a slope. One thing that makes a big difference is to park where you're not on a slope. That makes a big difference. It's a little bit disorientating being on a slope, but we've got used to it, haven't we? But I don't want to move because of the traffic. We can only move in the middle of the night, and I'm only going to move once. I'm not going to drive around Valencia. But it's made a really, just keep your legs still, darling, and the whole van moves. It's made a fantastic base because it's very safe. Don't feel like we're going to get broken into. The whole of Valencia feels incredibly safe. I've not felt nervous anywhere about anybody. Nobody's made me feel nervous, apart from a couple of crazy people, but you get those anywhere. Yeah, the only time I felt unsafe was when we drove down that road that we thought was a disused road. That was on the first night we arrived. But we've not felt unsafe anywhere else we've been, and we've been not all over Valencia, but we've covered a lot of it, and in the evening as well. We used the metro at night, and there was hardly anybody down there, but it felt very safe. Even when you're walking through an area that you think might be a bit of a dodgy area, all of a sudden a smart-looking woman and her husband will walk along, and you know you realise that it's a safe area, and all of the people are nice. Even from the top to the bottom, the people seem nice. They seem very helpful, and they don't intimidate at all. Even people who work in the kiosks or the taxi drivers, or even the tramps, there are tramps in Valencia. It's a little bit like in New York. There are people who live out of shopping trolleys. Over there are people sleeping on the park benches. But they don't scare us at all. They're not scary. There's nothing scary about the people here. So that's really good for van life, to know that you're safe and that your van is safe. You know, we've left the van unattended most of the time we've been here, and nothing's happened to it. We've got a free water fountain just down the road. We can afford to buy water, that's not a problem, but I just don't want to have to carry it all the way back from the supermarket, and it's good to reuse the plastic bottles. So we take 2 7-litre water bottles down to the water fountain, which is just there.
No, it's 8 litres.
Is it 8 litres? 2 8-litre bottles down to the water fountain down there. Then we can use that for other things, like I've washed a couple of dresses in it, and we wash our feet in it regularly, and we wash out things in there as well. What else have we found? Oh, the swimming pool just down the road, just one bus journey away, where we can go to have a shower. And hopefully the launderette's just down there. We're going to find that out today. What else about here? Oh, we're really close to the metro station. Yeah, so it's a really good location. We just we luckily stumbled across a fantastic location for parking a van. But my impression is that there are lots and lots of places all over Valencia where you could park up free of charge. No parking as well. Yeah, this is another thing about Valencia. I've not seen anywhere where you have to pay for parking.
I have.
You've seen one parking meter?
No,
a few. But it doesn't feel. I don't think you have to pay for most parking in Valencia, and you don't see any warning signs either. You know, don't do this, don't do that, or you'll get fined here for this or that. I know there's a proliferation of those in England. I know I talk too much, don't I? Sorry, the camera switched off again. Oh, right, I'm going to wrap it up now because we want to go out to the launderette. So yes, there's no litter in Valencia. Very, very little litter. But it's not because the people are warned to not litter. It's not because there's no council snoops following people around trying to stop them from littering. And it's not because they've got this threat of a fine. It's just because they don't litter. So, you know, message to England: trust people to do the right thing. And if they're not doing the right thing, it's because it's a broken society. Well, Valencia is definitely not a broken society. It's a really, really high-functioning society. And you don't see CCTV cameras anywhere. We haven't noticed any CCTV cameras in the street. You definitely don't get them in streets. No speed cameras. If they got, there's no way they've got speed cameras. And another thing we've noticed, we don't see any. What was it? The satellite dishes. No satellite dishes outside people's. A couple, but normally on a block of flats you'd see that satellite dish outside every single apartment. But we've hardly seen any because they're all outside chatting, which is good. Right, so we better go before the camera switches off again, and we'll keep you informed on what we get up to. Please subscribe. Please like the video if you liked it. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, smell good. This is just a little addition to the video. Lottie's just nipped out to try and find Pagina the pigeon. I'm just. You have to sit there, do you? Like that. I'm just making an omelette. Yeah, another thing about Valencia is the men. Well, firstly, they're a lot taller than in Ibiza and more kind of European looking, which is amazing because it's so close. You wouldn't have thought that there'd be much of a difference, but there's a huge difference. They're really, really tall, even tall for England. I think they're taller than an Englishman, or maybe it's just because I'm not used to tall men. So everybody seems really tall here, but the men, when you're walking down the pavement, everybody will look at you. If you're sitting in a cafe, everybody will look at you. everybody seems to look at us anyway. I don't know if they look at everybody. They seem to be very attentive people. They're not in a world of their own. They're interested in the people around them, which is nice. But when a man looks at me, he will look me in the eye. He won't look at my body, which is the case in Ibiza. Tends to be the case in Ibiza, not with all of them, but in Ibiza they're not really interested in looking in your eyes, because they're not really interested in you as a person. They don't really care who you are. They're just interested in your body. Like that song that's out, I don't know who it's by, but I've heard it. I'm in love with your body. That's Ibiza. So that's why I've not had anything to do with anybody in Ibiza for many years, like 8 years or something. So the men here look you in the eye, which is a real novelty. So they're interested in trying to work out what I am, and they smile at you. They look you in the eye and they smile. So it's quite romantic. Yeah, it's really nice. Makes a nice change. So that was just a little additional thing that I wanted to say. Another compliment for Valencia. The men seem very respectful. Oh, and if you talk to them and you ask for help, they will jump to your help. But they won't they've not given me the impression that they want to take advantage of that position that they're in. They don't try and chat you up. They just give you the help, and that's it. One example of the extraordinary things, helpful things that the Valencians have done is that I was asking for people in the street where there was a laboratorio, which is where you can go to use computers on the internet. There don't seem to be any of them in Ibiza, in Valencia. Well, we haven't found one yet. And a man overheard me and came over to switch my omelette off before it burns. And came over and said, I don't know where there's a laboratorio, but you are very welcome to come and use the computer in my clinic. He was an acupuncturist. And so we went into this apartment block. Some people wouldn't want to do that. They'd think it was a bit dodgy, but I'm a very trusting person in that way. I try to see the best in people. And so we went into his clinic, which was just a kind of apartment, and he just, said, "There you go, sit down." And I sat at his desk and used his computer. Now, if that had been in Ibiza, there would have been a long conversation about why haven't you got a boyfriend, and are you free tonight, and you're a wappa, And I'd think, oh God, I wish I'd not done this. I wish I'd held out for a laboratorio. But not at all. All he said was, if you see me in the street, wave. So, oh, how sweet. And that's been the case with all of the men who I've asked for help. They've just given me the help I needed, and they haven't taken advantage of the situation. So all credit to Valencian men. That's it. Bye.